Hello and welcome to the Tour of Britain. We are edging towards the midway point of the race, and for that reason we have come to the very middle of Wales. Paris Castle near Welshpool sets the scene for a stage which, if it's anything like yesterday, might just shake the whole race up again. Race leader Mark Cavendish had his game face on as the bunch rolled out, but he wasn't to have it all his own way. The early action came from a powerful trio including Russell Hampton, Boy Van Poppel and Andy Fenn. On Gun Hill, they were joined by John Tiernan Locke, who climbed away from the group, past the breakaway to sweep up the first Category 1 King of the Mountains of the Tour. Behind them on the road, an elite split had formed, powered by HTC High Road. The breakaway was caught, and then Team Sky hit the front. With 20 kilometres to go, Alex Dowsett attacked. He went 30 seconds up the road, but he too was reeled in.
It's going to be Lars Boom. He kicks in at the corner and Boom is round that first. Here he comes to the line. Lars Boom takes it on the line.
So Lars Boom pulling on the IG Markets gold jersey to go with his stage win. He is the new leader of the Tour by 3 seconds to Mark Cavendish and 6 seconds back to Geraint Thomas. Behind those three, Andy Fenn and Ian Bibby duly rewarded for their aggressive rides on stage 3. So there we have it, stage 3 into Stoke, producing the first selection in the general classification. But what was interesting about that stage finish, Janto Barker, was Mark Cavendish's placing. He wasn't happy not to have won that, was he?
No, he wasn't. I think Mark's accustomed to winning his group, and I don't think he would make any concessions for whether it's an uphill finish or whatever, or a selection, and he was very disappointed.
See, on my first viewing, I actually put a slightly different spin on that. I thought he did pretty well to get himself in the same time as Lars Boom.
I think on reflection, he might well come round to that with a night's sleep to think about it. But like you say, he didn't lose any time, so there's nothing lost, but he didn't win the stage and he has lost the jersey, but not to a gap, to a time bonus rather than an actual split.
Exactly. Well, he has relinquished the race lead and that'll irk him, and he's handed it over to Rabobank, who will take some shifting. Very well executed plan yesterday, wasn't it, from Rabobank? Everybody was talking about what Cavendish could do maybe and what Team Sky might have up their sleeves, but you guys absolutely stole the show yesterday.
Yeah, we used having 3 riders in the breakaway to our advantage, and I think Sky and Columbia were just fighting each other through the whole end of the race, and yeah, we just waited and yeah, timed the sprint perfectly and got first and second.
Yeah, yesterday Lars showed himself that and he proven that he's really strong, and I think he can win the overall. He's feeling really good, and I think the parkour is it's made for him. And but I saw Geraint Thomas was really strong yesterday also. So yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be between those two guys.
Defending the jersey, will you expect particularly the British teams to give you a real good test over the next few days?
A real hard time, I think. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I think it's quite a hard stage today. Geraint Thomas is on his home ground, I think, so he knows the roads. It's a little advantage, but I think we have a strong team, and we will try for sure to defend the jersey and be good in the final.
Yes, indeed, Rabobank, the team in command of the race at the moment, but everybody is going to want to knock them off their perch, most notably perhaps Janto, Team Sky.
Yeah, I think Team Sky are going to have a very motivated stage today. Geraint Thomas obviously well positioned. He's had 2 good top 10 finishes in the first 2 main road stages, and I think he on his home soil will really be quite keen to deliver some results this afternoon.
We kind of saw the pecking order emerge yesterday within the team, didn't we, with Dowsett being used, if you like, as a kind of speculative bit of cannon fodder there. It became apparent though that Geraint Thomas is their man for GC.
I think so, yeah, absolutely. I think that's been set out all along. I spoke to Geraint on the first day and he confirmed that, so I think today will be a day where he would like to make amends for last year on the stage where they lost the jersey.
Yep.
And get it back again today would be a great result.
Yeah, it would indeed. In fact, Mark Cavendish tweeted this morning that he expects fireworks from Geraint Thomas in the motherland.
I love racing this race anyway, and to come into Wales, and we finished in Caerphilly, which is just down the road from Cardiff where I grew up, and there's going to be so many fans out there. It's going to be incredible. So that's definitely added incentive, and it definitely gives you a boost when you're up there. So yeah, hopefully it's no more pressure than the Olympics or the Tour de France, so I'm just really looking forward to it. We're going to get stuck in, and hopefully I'll feel good, and hopefully I can get that home win for everyone.
Geraint Thomas, they're very much most people's pick for today's stage. But Janto, the thing that interests me about him is so much potential, so much talent, but has he really defined himself as a rider yet?
I think that's a good question because he is a classics rider, and we've seen that the results he had and the performances he's done that have progressed from his earlier years have shown that he has potential to win maybe a Paris-Roubaix or a Tour of Flanders. But he also does such a great job during the Tours that maybe it looks like he's got potential to do that as well, and then maybe he hasn't defined himself, like you say.
Yeah, well, perhaps he'll define himself out there on today's route map. It's very, very lumpy. Arguably the toughest stage on this year's Tour, an arduous journey through the Welsh mountains that begins slowly and ends with a challenging finale that will test the riders' mettle up some seriously steep slopes that block the entry into Caerphilly, and a picturesque finish at the castle. Daunting and dramatic, two pretty good ways to describe this visit to Wales. The 184-kilometre leg showcases some of the most breathtaking areas in the country. After the launch pad at spectacular Powys Castle, the peloton heads south through pretty villages and areas of outstanding natural beauty, including the Brecon Beacons, before a final mountain ascent and the fast run into Caerphilly. Well, beautiful countryside here in Powys. It's a beautiful race, and we've got beautiful commentators too. Let's join Hugh Porter and Brian Smith.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! The rollout for the start of stage 4 of the Tour of Britain, which will take the riders from Powys Castle, Welshpool to Caerphilly, right down the spine of Wales, a distance of 114 miles. And the sting is certainly in the tail because there are 2 first category climbs. Now then, in that Leaders IG Markets gold jersey is the Dutchman from Rabobank, Lars Boom. But his advantage is only 3 seconds over Mark Cavendish on the left of our screen in the blue prostate cancer charity points jersey. So advantages are being fought for here, but they're not being established very easy. Now then, Geraint Thomas of Sky Pro Cycling is lying 3rd overall at 6 seconds, and he's heading almost to his home city of Cardiff today, so he'll be out to impress.
Well, you'd reckon right from the start there was going to be some good action here on this stage, but look at Geraint Thomas for this stage in Wales. We go up Caerphilly Mountain, he's ridden it many times, and I expect he'll want to try and gain some time back.
Well, those 2 big climbs come in the final 14 miles, but along the way, of course, we have got the 3 sprints in the Yodel sprint competition, and before those 2 first category ascents, we've got the climb of Lisson Hill, just to get the legs warmed up. Well, the roads here initially quite narrow.
Yeah, they're narrow to start with, and this is good for attacking, because if you can get away 15-20 seconds, you can't be seen in these small lanes.
Well, this is Pieter Gilibert, who is wearing the Yodel Sprints jersey. He's made this his own property ever since the start. He won all 3 sprints on offer in the opening leg to Dumfries, and it looks as though he means business early on today. He's got with him one of the members of the Endura team.
Well, Gilibert attacked there with Jack Bauer of Endura Racing. You looked at Lars Boom, and he just moved over his teammate to say, look, I'm happy with 2 riders going away. This race has all been about 2 riders, 3 riders yesterday and another 2 riders. These are good breakaways, because you've got to remember that there's 6 in one team and they don't want too many going up the road. Well,
the first sprint in this Yodel competition comes after 14.7 miles today, but these kind of roads lend themselves to very good racing country, because once you slip away around the corners, you're out of sight. Already 27 seconds the advantage.
Well, this is good to see the sprint leader at the moment trying to gain some more points in these Yodel sprint competition. But with him at the moment is Jack Bauer, former winner of the New Zealand Championships, but another rider trying to come across in black.
And that's one of the Rafa Conda sharp men. I can tell you that the advantage for Gilibert in the Yodel sprint classification at the start of this stage is just 4 points over Russell Hampton. But of course, Hampton is not here. So if he was to pick up the 4 points here, he would increase his lead. There's Tour Hushoff, the world champion. He's had a quiet tour so far, but Hushoff is always a man that can deliver.
Well, I actually had a chat with him in the hotel this morning, and he says he feels a lot better than he did yesterday. That stage into Blackpool, we had a bit more of a rest. He came a lot better.
Well, that man that's come across is Christian House. He loves this countryside around here. A couple of years ago, he won the British National Road Championships in Abergavenny. He won the Tour of South Africa overall earlier this year, and House is a gutsy, courageous rider. And these three may well be given their opportunity to slip away because they are not a threat to the overall leader.
The closest in overall classification is the man in black at the back, and that's Christian House at 4 minutes and 12 seconds.
Well, actually just pedalling over the line. They're not contesting the sprint, so that's 5 points to Gilibert. And the 3 went to Bauer, 2 to Christian House. So what it means now, he started the competition 4 points clear of Hampton, but now he's added another 5. So he is actually increasing his advantage.
And that's why the other riders let him gain the points, because Bauer and House were no threat really to the sprint competition winner. At the front of the bunch, you had Rabobank as their right to ride at the front of the bunch to chase these riders down, but as you said, not a threat to the overall, and they just have to ride good tempo.
2:13 then the advantage for the 3 as we sight the 4th man coming over the line. He'll pick up the 1 point, and that looks like Andy Fenn, teammate then of Gilibert. So 1st and 4th from the An Post Grant Thornton team, and Gilibert increasing his lead, as I mentioned a little earlier. But Team Rabobank on the front, they have got 1st overall, and they've also got 5th in Michael Matthews. So they're obviously out to defend that lead. Long way to go. Welcome back, and the bunch, well, they look in a pretty relaxed mood. They're almost 4 minutes now behind the 3 leaders, Christian House, Jack Bauer and Pieter Gilibert.
Well, the 3 of them are out pushing hard at the moment, and Gilibert just thinking of these Yodel sprints at the moment. Jack Bauer on the other hand, and Christian House at the back for Rafa Kondershar are thinking possibly with a 3 minute and 52 advantage of the stage win at the finish.
Well, this Belgian, Gilibert, he's been a pro around about 8 years, and he's actually, in his list of performances, got a win in the Tour of Austria, so he can mix it with the best, and they're getting close to that 2nd sprint in the Yodel sprint competition, so he'll be out to win more points, and I don't think the rest really will be too bothered. They just want to keep the pace high. But there's a man with a little bit of a problem on his mind on the far side in that prostate cancer charity jersey, and that's Mark Cavendish, because he must be conscious of just how hard the finish is with those 2 climbs.
Well, he'll know definitely how hard it is. This won't be the stage that we think that Mark Cavendish would try and win or try and be up there. He's going to have a hard day.
There it is over the line. They just cruise across in the perfect linear formation that they're working in. But Rabobank are beginning to take closer order at the front here. And really the question I need to ask you, Brian, are you surprised? I mean, the overall leader's only got a 3-second cushion over Mark Cavendish, and yet they seem intent on trying to contain the field.
Well, I think they're confident in Lars Boom's ability. He's that sort of rider that Caerphilly Mountain will favour. It's short, very steep, and towards the end, and it doesn't suit the out-and-out climber, but more like a very punchy, strong rider.
And also they've got Michael Matthews, the super sprinter world under 23 champion, lying in 5th place, and he's only 7 seconds back. But there's the result. Andy Fenn once again coming over the line for the 4th place, as he did in sprint number 1.
Well, I'm really impressed with this An Post Grant Thornton team. You see, they've managed to get in every breakaway we've had, every stage that they've been in the breakaway. The gap is now going up to 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So that means that the virtual leader on the road is the rider in black at the front, and that's Rafa Condor's Christian House.
And they are heading on actually towards the first climb of the day. That comes at 62 miles. It's the ascent of Liswen Hill. It's only a 3rd category affair, but of course it does contain 4, 3, 2 and 1 points. Now the King of the Mountains is not in that group, as you've observed, but we'll keep an eye at the head of the peloton to see whether he tries to pick up the 1 point for 4th.
Well, as the bunch are snacking in the feed zone at the moment, the riders in front, the 3-man breakaway, are just hitting the bottom of the next climb. Gilibert is happy with that green jersey, the Yodel Sprints jersey, but we're on the King of the Mountains. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a reaction from Bauer or House for the maximum points at the top.
Well, I'm expecting the Belgian to sit at the back of the group here and just try and save some strength for the final sprint that comes at Mountain Ash. He's concentrating on that particular competition. But it is Christian House nearest to us, just dancing on those pedals. A man that actually lived a lot of his early years in Texas, and then he was based in Belgium. But he is a rider that is always super aggressive.
Well, you're correct, Hugh. We've got a three-man breakaway, but it's a very powerful breakaway. We've got fantastic scenes here in Wales, and we're coming up to the Brecon Beacons soon. And I've been over this in the Milk Racing a few years ago, and I never saw very much of it because of the weather. The weather's perfect today, and I'm looking forward to seeing the fantastic scenery.
And it is perfect countryside for racing in here, as Gilibert, with 2 sprint victories under his belt so far, just taps along nicely. There it is, the River Wye on the left. Glorious sight as the peloton are just parallel to it, heading towards that right-hander and the start of the climb.
Well, again, it's the Rabobank team riding at the front of the race. We turn right here and hit the same climb that the breakaway are on, but the breakaway are up near the top of the climb at the moment, and I'm expecting a close sprint between House and Bauer, because they'll be wanting to get something out this stage today.
You know, I said that Gilibert, well, he'd just tap along and wasn't bothered about contesting the King of the Mountains, but because of the consistency, there we are, it's reflected exactly what I said as they charge along for the points, and it looks like Jack Bauer on the left, the former New Zealand champion, picking up the 4 points. Christian House getting second for 3, and Gilibert doing exactly as I said, saving his strength.
Yeah, that's what you do. He's an old pro. He'll soon get back up to these 2 riders in front. But we've got a battle on our hands with House and Bauer battling out the King of the Mountains. We'll be down off this climb, and soon we'll be hitting Brecon Beacons.
And it's quite interesting, isn't it? I know we're early on in the stage as regards the climbs, but Russell Hampton has got a 16-point advantage over Jonathan Tiernan Locke at the start of this stage in that competition. But of course, he's not figuring, is he? As once again, Gilibert comes up to make the junction, and the group will reform and start to work again.
Well, Gilibert has just got back up to them, looked around and said, look, guys, you've had your fun at the top of the King of the Mountains. There's still a long way to go to the top of this climb. But I would expect to see the King of the Mountains team of Sigma Sports Specialised to be up there trying to defend the lead they have in that mountains competition.
They're wearing the red and black colours, so we'll be looking to see whether Russell Hampton can get the 1 point. There we are, the road stretching out in front, and the peloton at the moment just keeping that same rhythm, and it is Rabobank again right near the front, and I'm just trying to see whether or not that is the black and red colours of Sigma Sports Specialised at the front.
Yeah, they've got 1 rider at the front for Sigma Sports Specialised, but also there is the black jersey of Rafa Condor Sharp's Tiernan Locke. He did so well yesterday, gaining some mountain points. I'm pretty sure he wanted to try and gain some more today.
He certainly did. He was first to the summit of Gun Hill, and then he was first to the summit of Common Side, and that's why he's lying second in the competition, 16 points behind Russell Hampton. And from what I've seen, he really is growing in confidence, Jonathan Tiernan Locke, on the Rafa Conda Sharp squad. But 2 riders are near the front here in the black and red colours, as you can see, from Sigma Sports Specialised, and I'm expecting one of them obviously to be Russell Hampton as he tries to get that 1 point.
Well, Russell Hampton, you got to remember, has got the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey, and that's white and green, so he'll be expected to figure at the top of that 3rd category climb.
And the leaders have lost time there. You saw it clearly shown. It's 4 minutes the advantage. So activity at the head, the sharp end of the peloton, means that that lead is coming down. Now, here's the reaction for that 1 point. It might not seem very much, but the defining advantages at the moment in this race are very close. Odd points here and the odd second in overall. Now, who's going to get this? Well, it is a Sigma Sports Specialised rider, but it's not the overall leader in the Skoda King of the Mountains, because he's wearing that white jersey.
No, he never made that extra point, but we're over the top, and luckily enough, one of his teammates took the points away from the others.
Well, it was Tom Murray. That 1 point, as you said, has stopped the others, narrowing the gap to his lead. Well, there's still a long way to go. Don't go away. Well, our 3 leaders, Jack Bauer, Christian House and Pieter Gilibert, are still enjoying their escape. They slipped the net of the main peloton very early on, and the lead, the biggest it's been so far, 5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Wow, 5 minutes and 30, these guys. This is the biggest breakaway lead this Tour of Britain has seen. we'll still get this Brecon Beacons as we start the King of the Mountains at the moment.
Now this is a long climb, isn't it, Brian? It's almost 6 kilometres, but it is a main road climb. It's not too dissimilar to the ones they use on the continent.
Our average is about 7 or 8%, very similar to what happens, you know, when we get into the Alps. So these guys will set a good tempo up at the front. You can just see Rabobank full numbers at the front in defence of the lead of that gold leader's jersey.
Well, it is a first category ascent, so there's 10 points to the leader when they arrive at the summit. But just look at the magnificent countryside with, of course, the hills in the distance. A perfect day for bike racing. And there it is, that IG Markets gold jersey firmly on the shoulders of the leader, Lars Boom.
Well, Christian House, you've got to remember, in the breakaways, 4 minutes and 12 seconds off the overall lead. So with 5 minutes and 30 seconds back to the peloton, it means he's got a healthy advantage in the virtual leader on the road at the moment. What I think Rabobank are trying to do, they're trying to entice some other teams that maybe want to try and win the stage to come to the front to help out.
Well, they've obviously studied the route and the profile of the run into Caerphilly, so they must be content with it. And as you say, they're riding to a game plan. So we can expect one or two of these riders from Rabobank to probably try and forge an attack. But now, Sky coming through. Now, I can only assume the fact that Sky are starting to lift the tempo here is going to be for Geraint Thomas, the man from Cardiff, who is currently third. He would dearly love, wouldn't he, to post a victory today.
Well, you would think that, Hugh. We are in Wales. This is his backyard, and Matt Heyman, Steve Cummings and Michael Rogers came up very slick up to the front and are going to lift the tempo up Brecon Beacons. And what they want to do is really try and split this peloton up. It's been fairly easy in control for Rabobank at the moment, so they want to put the cat amongst the pigeons.
And it is Cummings on the front, tapping out the rhythm as we go back to the leaders. Jack Bauer for Endura right on the front here, and you can see the gentle rise there, but it is very, very wooded as well in this particular area of Wales. Main peloton there still all close together and thinning down from the front, which is implying that the pace is being lifted. And there they are, the whole team now lined out.
Well, this is intent as we see it. They're intending to lift this tempo faster and faster all the way up this big long climb. You've got to remember, this is about 3 miles long. These three riders just have to keep the advantage up, keep going. I'm pretty sure we're going to see another sprint by House and Bauer as we get to the summit.
But now there's a change, you see, because once again Rabobank are coming through. So the two big teams here, Rabobank and Sky, are playing a significant part, and it's hugely impressive, isn't it, to see the quality of these two squads wanting to thin the field down with the application of the pace on the front.
Well, it was very interesting there. Sky came to the front, Rabobank sat back. Now the Sky decided to sit back, Rabobank came to the front. It's a bit of gamesmanship here at the moment as they start to attack each other.
And it's Steve Cummings, the man that's deciding to try and distance himself from the rest. Immediately in the wheel, he's got a Rabobank rider and a member of An Post. And Endura coming across as well. He'll be looking after the interests of Jack Bauer, so he won't contribute to the pace setting.
Yeah, well, Brian tanking for Rabobank, just going to sit there. Mark Cassidy is in third place. Iker Kimano sitting there in fourth place at the moment. Dominic Clem coming up to the back wheel, or is actually Linus Gerdeman. So all these riders and big teams starting to get involved with the action, but no breakaway has happened from the front of the peloton yet.
You can see the summit of the climb ahead, but just reflecting on the effort of Cummings up the front, he's up there in 9th position overall. He's the sprint then for the maximum points. Looks like Bauer's going to take it. So 2 out of 2 for Bauer. He was first at the top of Liswen, and now he's added another first to his collection. 10 points for that, so the New Zealander's having a good day.
Well, you can see what he's set out to do. He's set out to gain some points in the King of the Mountains. He's done that for the day. He's beaten Christian House in 2 of the sprints at the top. So I think Christian will sit down and they'll have a wee chat on the descent here and say, look guys, we need to start thinking about the possible stage win with the advantage we've got.
Now then, he's the King of the Mountains. Didn't figure, did he, in the first climb, but he looks as though he wants to get some points here. So what can he do? This is Russell Hampton wearing that Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. Now if he can get over the top of this one in 4th position, he could get himself 7 points, and that would be very useful. Hampton's having a fantastic Tour of Britain. He's totally inspired.
Well, this is a brave effort. He realises he's not getting the kick of some of the riders in the previous third category climb, so he has to go for a long one, and he's stretching out the peloton, as we see.
Certainly is. That injection of pace has caused the field to fracture behind, and these riders in ones and twos are distancing themselves off the front of the main peloton. But the three getting down to it once again, crouching style of Bauer, pulling the others along, but here is the effort to the line then for the leader of the King of the Mountains. Yes, thank you very much, I'll take that. 7 points for Russell Hampton, and that means his tally's now gone up to 39 overall.
Well, job done for Russell Hampton today. It's great to see him. He defends the lead he's got in the Skoda King of the Mountains. The gap now coming down to just over 2 minutes with all that action on Brecon Beacons.
And it was mainly due to the effort of the team of Sky, wasn't it, with Rabobank helping. Now then there, Jonathan Tiernan-Locke also figuring again. Now he got 6 points and he was the man of the match yesterday.
Well, as we come off the Brecon Beacons, we come past the reservoir on the right hand side, we swing right over the moor, and we've just seen Sky come to the front, Rabobank in close attendance. There is a bit of a wind blowing and we might be able to see more echelons as we saw yesterday.
Glorious shot of the reservoir, just like a big mirror, cool and inviting, and I'm sure the riders, if it was a little warmer, would probably love to take a moment to dive in. But of course, we've got a serious bike race on here.
Well, it's still strung out at the moment. Most of the peloton's still together. Nobody dropped in that climb, but what beautiful scenery we've got. Swing right, as we said, it rises slightly and up onto the exposed moors. Just
Speculating about that Skoda King of the Mountains competition, and he's looking very much like Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, who's on the Rafa Conda Sharp team. He's teed himself up to put the leader under pressure, and of course that leader is Russell Hampton.
Well, it's a great competition, you know, all these domestic continental teams willing and trying to get on the podium with the jersey.
Well, we're approaching the final sprint of the day with the lead now hovering 2 minutes and 5 seconds. This final sprint is at Mountain Ash. They'll have covered 97 miles when they get there, and it's Bauer on the front pulling the other two along. And once again, Rabobank have reasserted their authority at the sharp end here of the bunch.
Well, with the gap still at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, they're happy. Rabobank are happy because the man in black just coming to the back of the moment, Christian House for Rafa Condor Sharp, is 4 minutes and 12 seconds off that overall lead. And that means they don't really have to chase this down. It looks as if these three riders could possibly be fighting it out for the stage.
Well, here comes Gilibert, and once again the crowds have come to the roadside to support this Tour of Britain. So Gilibert gets the 5 points again, so he's had a full house. And I would say that's his job done today, because he really has taken a stranglehold on this competition.
Well, you got to remember, Hugh, he was up the road in stage one, a very difficult stage. He's now up the road again, very long stage for him, and you're quite right, job done and well deserved at that.
So the question you've got to ask yourself now is, can they stay away to the finish? Looking at the Rabobank team, the IG Markets Gold jersey at the back of the train of Rabobank here, you can just see it, and that's Lars Boom, and all over him is Mark Cavendish wearing that blue prostate cancer charity jersey as the points leader. He's never moved far away from him, and remember, they're only split by 3 seconds in the overall standings.
And they 3 seconds can come down to the finishing line, and that's where Rabobank will be happy. 3 riders away, the 10, 6 and the 4 at the finish, they'll be happy to gift that away to these 3 riders in front. It means that there'll not be any threat to the overall leader.
Rabobank still lined out on the front of the main peloton as Bauer crouches down at the head of the breakaway. Well, whoever does win the stage and the bonuses will have to work hard, because they've got the ascent of Caerphilly Mountain, and that comes just 5 kilometres from the finish. Well, Rabobank have led the field over the line, and at the 1 point going to Vermeltfort, and that's the first point he's won in the competition. Well, one more obstacle to come, Caerphilly Mountain. Welcome back, and our 3 leaders, Jack Bauer, Christian House and Pieter Gilibert, are still ahead with 10 kilometres to go, but their lead has come down dramatically.
Well, it was about 25 kilometres to go. The Team Sky went on the front and really drilled it. They're thinking of Geraint Thomas, thinking of the stage one and taking the bonus seconds to put him in the gold jersey.
Well, riders taking their chances here. They want to try and get a run at the final climb, Caerphilly Mountain, ahead of the peloton, then they can tap out their own pace.
And it was the French team of Europe car that was trying to get in the mix, to attacking off the front. It's the first time we've seen them in the Tour of Britain stage.
Well, there is the island ahead of them. Let's see which side they're going to take. The other day, riders went to the left and lost a lot of time, and you can see they've done exactly the same again. The bulk of the peloton have taken the right side, and the others, well, they've got to squeeze their way back into the back of the bunch.
Well, it looks as if they're all back together. Team Sky pushing hard at the front. The rider on the right from Europe car has been brought back. Team Sky now keeping the pressure on, as they have done for the last 10-15 kilometres.
So Team Sky still fanning the flames at the front to limit the advantage of the leaders, and this of course is all to set it up for Geraint Thomas, who knows this climb like the back of his hands. It's brutal, and this could be the springboard for the stage victory.
Well, you've got to think that Geraint Thomas knows this finish, knows this climb, and he's confident enough to try and take these bonus seconds in the finish, and that'll put him at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, if he could win the stage and get that 10 seconds on the line, he would go straight in to the gold jersey as the overall leader. He is third in the overall standings at 6 seconds at the moment.
And we see at the front the three riders about to be caught by the peloton. It's Christian House that decides to attack.
Yeah, he realises that their escape is almost over, but he's not going to wait for Bauer. And Gilbert, he's trying on his own. This is typical Christian House. He never ever surrenders.
Well, it looks as if they're going to come back together. The three riders of Christian House, Jack Bauer and Gilbert are all coming back together before we hit the bottom of this next climb.
So it's not going to be too long now before the junction is made and the whole field are back together. Well, now look at this. Bauer is trying to inject more pace into the front of the group.
Well, they've been out front all day today, riding in the wind, and they've still got enough energy to attack each other. But I'm pretty sure they'll shake hands as they see the big bunch behind them.
They won't give in though, will they, Brian? So it's Bauer now at the front. And once they have caught them, and it's inevitable that they are going to catch them, we will look out for the riders seizing the opportunity to spring away from the big peloton.
On this climb of Caerphilly Mountain, who do you think is going to win? It suits a very strong, punchy rider. And I'm thinking, in this large bunch, that Lars Boom won't be far away at the finish.
Well, Boom is a man to look out for, but there's one or two others that can acquit themselves well on the climb. Well, they're finally caught. The junction has been made. Now, who's going to be first to attack? Immediately, it's Team Sky coming through.
Well, it's Ben Swift at the front leading out. We know he's a sprinter, but he's not totally on form at the moment, but he's doing his teammate at the moment, thinking of Steve Cummings and Geraint Thomas, the Welshman.
Just got a glorious shot there of Caerphilly Castle, the largest in Wales, as the field start to make their way to the foot slopes of this brutal ascent. It's a first category climb, and I've got a feeling the field are going to fragment on it.
Well, it's already started, Stuart. We're in the lower slopes at the moment. It kicks up in steps, but it's very, very steep, but the crowd at the top is absolutely amazing.
This is the hors d'oeuvres before they do get onto the climb itself. Doesn't look too much, but it lips up, and just as you said, Brian, it's a series of steps, and they've just come through the town of Caerphilly, and they've actually traversed the one-way system in reverse. They've closed the whole place down.
Well, as Michael Rogers moves over to the right-hand side, it's actually Steve Cummings that takes it up. Geraint Thomas in second place, the gold jersey of Lars Boom. Linus Gerdeman sitting in fourth place, and the Enduro rider Zika Kamano.
So Cummings it is, right at the front here, turning the screw. But the gold jersey of Lars Boom is present all the time. He's marking everybody, and he is very strong.
Well, the gaps are starting to appear at the moment. Three riders now pushing hard at the front. Steve Cummings on the left-hand side for Team Sky. Geraint Thomas, the Welshman, and Team Sky on the right-hand side. But still, as we thought, the gold jersey of Lars Boom, Rabobank still pushing at the front.
Just look at this, isn't it hurting? Contrasting styles, you've got riders out of the saddle. Look at the style on the front of Cummings, lovely rhythm. He's sitting there just in that perfect climbing position, and he's beginning to get clear.
Well, we're over the first part of the climb, and then we get the next step up. Steve Cummings is pushing out a small advantage at the moment. It's regrouping at the back, but you just see no big gaps starting to appear as Steve Cummings forges ahead.
9th overall at the moment, Cummings 13 seconds off the lead. So this is a spirited effort then by Cummings, who finished second in the Tour of Britain overall. at 5 seconds, but we just got a glimpse of the man in black, and that's the rider from Rafaconda Sharp, and of course that is Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, and he's inspired by this climb. He's looking once again to try and pick up points, and a man that's clearly unhappy is Mark Cavendish.
Oh, he's more than unhappy. He doesn't like these hard, steep climbs, but this man, he done it in Gun Hill and he's doing it again in Caerphilly Mountain. He's ripping this field apart. The Rafaconda rider is really putting it to these pros.
He's bridged, hasn't he? Look at the support here of the spectator. This is just like the continent, Brian. We see this going on in Europe, don't we? Hello?
You've got G supporters on the right hand side, the Santa Claus outfit in the red of Wales, but it's John Tiernan-Locke in black at the front for Rafaconda Sharp with Steve Cummings with a slender advantage.
Well, the field is fracturing here significantly. This really is the key moment, the defining moment then of stage 4 as they're getting closer to the summit of this climb of the Caerphilly Mountain. And Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, he's full of strength and power. He makes it look so easy. Cavendish gritting his teeth and he's losing time.
Well, Mark Cavendish surely is in the hot pocket at the moment, but it's John Tiernan-Locke as we have the final slopes of this very steep climb. Steve Cummings trying to stay with him. Saw a NetApp rider, looks like Koenig of NetApp coming up there in 3rd place, but gaps starting to appear as we get to the top of this climb.
Well, Tiernan-Locke has given the tree a severe shake and the fallout is quite dramatic. He's at the top of the climb first, 10 useful points he's picked up there, and it was Steve Cummings getting over second for 9 as the rest, well, they limp over the top.
Well, just look here, we see the gold jersey still in contention at this moment. We take a sharp right, a very steep descent, and we're into the last final kilometres.
And the rest of the field limp over the line, and the overall race leader, Lars Boom of Rabobank, was 8th. Now then, he's got a little bit of catching up to do here. It is a tricky descent, it's technical, and approximately 5 kilometres to the line.
Well, here in Wales, and we see a young Welsh devil at the moment on the right-hand side. This crowd at the top of Caerphilly Mountain has really come out in numbers. Through
the corridor of faces and the cheering, it really does lift the riders, but there's an interesting descending style.
Yeah, we've got Honig for NetApp at the front, John Tiernan-Locke in 2nd place, Steve Cummings still sitting there, but 2 riders trying to come across this small gap.
Let me just tidy up the overall situation, the Skoda King of the Mountains. Thanks to that brilliant climbing by Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, he's got 32 now, and he's only 7 shy of the overall leader, Russell Hampton. So Hampton is coming under pressure.
And more riders coming across this gap at the moment. Looks as if we're going to have 6 riders in this leading group. At the front, John Tiernan-Locke, Honig of NetApp, Steve Cummings coming across the gap is Linus Gerdeman, Thomas de Gent of Vacansoleil, and just tapped on the back is Iker Kamano of Endura Racing.
So 6 riders now trying to turn the screw and put the rest to the sword, and on this kind of descent a group of that size is probably a safer bet than being tucked in the wheels of the peloton.
Yeah, you're right, Hugh. I wouldn't be surprised if Sky weren't trying to send more riders across here. They did chase it down, and they've only got 1 rider in this front group of 6, but just look here, Hugh, more riders coming across. It looks as if we've got a group of about 20 odd riders in the front with the gold jersey of Lars Boom right in the middle.
So they're all back again. This is going to be a fascinating sprint finish, and this has surprised me completely. I thought they would be arriving in 1s and 2s, but once again you can see the rider of Rabobank coming through, looking after his overall race leader, Lars Boom.
Well, this is what they have to do. They're in the lead at the moment. Bram Tanking of Rabobank leading his leader in the gold jersey, Lars Boom. And I tell you what, with 10, 6 and 4 on the finishing line, it's going to be a hard-fought contest.
I tell you who's going well on the left, riding for Motorpoint Racing, is Ian Bibby. Bibby had a good ride yesterday, and he's in the mix again here.
Well, it's Lars back on the right-hand side for HTC, tracked by Vacansoleil. Tanking still in there. Good to see Bibby in here, but Geraint Thomas is right on the gold jersey of Lars Boom. He needs to steal 3 seconds.
2 kilometres to go then to decide this stage, stage 4. It's been absorbing, it's been gripping. We've had a phenomenal day's racing action. Question is, who is going to lift his arms in the air to gain the victor spoils? Another attack on the left of the screen.
Yeah, we're going to get attack after attack because everybody knows that we've got a sprint coming up with this group of about 20 odd riders. Who's going to beat Lars Boom? We're trying to pick out the riders further down this group.
Yeah, we just waited to see who is the best sprinter here. Geraint Thomas has got a very, very fair turn of speed, and if he can profit from the lead out of Boom in the gold jersey, maybe Thomas could score a Welsh victory.
Well, you can see just on the left-hand side, the light blue and the black, and that's Rory Sutherland of the UHC healthcare team. But again, we're getting attack after attack as we get in towards this finish.
Well, I tell you what, Brian, there's a significant split here with 1 kilometre to go. There's about 22 riders in this group, so there's others that have lost a lot of time.
Well, it's Top Sport Vlaanderen at the front, Netap in second place, UHC, but I would think with Boom in here, he must stand a great chance of putting one over on the rest of them.
Well, Lars Boom was the victor yesterday outside Hanley Town Hall in Stoke-on-Trent, and that was an uphill finish. So is he going to win 2 stages back to back? I can see the white jersey up there as well of the world champion, Tur Hushoff. Hushoff has come through into second place.
And he's got a teammate in front of him. It looks like the New Zealander Julian Dean is leading out. We're coming into this final corner. It's all about position at the moment.
And it's all about courage as they come up to the sharp right-hander. The world champion Tur Hushoff is round first. Thomas, well, he lost a bit of ground there, and Lars Boom, the overall race leader, nipped through for second place. But here comes Tur Hushoff, the world champion in the rainbow jersey. He's got enough distance here to claim victory. There's the victory salute. Boom comes over the line second, and I'm afraid Thomas, well, he didn't get in the top 3. So it means the second place then for Boom gives him another 6-second bonus. How useful is that going to be? He's the next group approaching the finish, and they've lost significant time.
As you can see, the leaders are really pushing hard towards the finish. They think it's all going to come down to seconds when it comes down to the final of this Tour of Britain.
Here's the sprint again, Brian. Just talk us through the closing stages.
Julian Dean led Hushoff into the corner perfectly. Geraint Thomas, surprisingly to me, backed off, lost his speed and lost every opportunity to take a bonus second in the 10, 6 and 4. It was at the finish for the first 3.
And you cannot give a man like Tur Hushoff an advantage like that. So the world champion delivers here in Caerphilly at the end of stage 4. It has been a sensational day's racing.
Back to health, back to form, back to winning ways. Tur Hushoff carrying the rainbow stripes across the line into Caerphilly ahead of all the rest. And when the rest did come in, they crossed in bits and pieces. Lars Boom finishing in second, Ian Bibby in a very strong 4th place with Geraint Thomas in 11th at the same time, but then Mark Cavendish in the 3rd group on the road at 31 seconds. Tur Hushoff took the win though and took to the stage to the delight of a big crowd. His win, a textbook Hushoff rampage.
First we went over a really hard and steep climb by the end, so I kind of just hanged on there and closed a gap on the top, and I just had a perfect lead out from Julian Dean, who brought me to the corner, and I just came first through the corner, and then it was an easy sprint to win actually after passing that corner.
Peter Gilbert has been in breaks on 2 out of the 3 days and picked up maximum sprint points today to extend his lead in the Yodel Sprints competition. No change either today in the Skoda King of the Mountains. Russell Hampton scored a 4th place over the Brecon Beacons, and that keeps him comfortably in the polka dots. The Prostate Cancer points jersey changed hands though. Lars Boom leapfrogging both Geraint Thomas and Mark Cavendish to take the lead. But Boom's jersey haul wasn't done until he pulled on the IG Markets gold jersey for a second day, extending his lead as he did it. Mark Cavendish though drops out of the top 10 to 19th place in fact and 40 seconds down. Boy Van Poppel has snuck into a podium place with Ian Bibby up as far as 4th now. But it's Boom and Thomas the top 2 with a gap which is just beginning to widen.
I was in the wheel of Thomas the last climb because he's the most important guy I think in this stage and in the tour maybe for me, because his time trial is also very good of course, and we were in a big group in the finish, so it was good.
You expect Thomas to come back at you?
I don't hope so.
Well, what an excellent response that was from Lars Boom, inviting the challenge from Geraint Thomas. That, Janto, is exactly what we want to see. And he's absolutely right, isn't it? It's kind of distilled now to a battle between Boom and Thomas, the 2 riders who are best suited to the Tour of Britain.
Absolutely, a very sporting response. I was quite pleased to hear that, and I look forward to the battle that's going to commence for the rest of these stages.
They're both good time trialists with London in mind. They're probably quite evenly matched there. So really, Thomas has got to make a move. He's got 3 more stages to do it, hasn't he?
He needs to. He needs to really try and stamp his authority on this race, and if he's going to make a gap, he needs to go into the time trial with a bit of an advantage to be able to give him a serious chance of taking the jersey, you know, on the last day.
Bit of head scratching at Team Sky, would you say, this evening? Because they've tried a few things, nothing's quite come off yet.
Yeah, probably, because they did do a good job this, today. They let it out to the bottom of the climb, and they very much took it to the competition to make sure that they made the splits. And there's a lot of good riders in this race now. It's not like the old days.
No, absolutely. Well, they've got, for example, the world champion Tur Hushoff. We spoke about him yesterday. We got one day wrong, but he pulled it off today in a magnificent win, wasn't he?
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, he's a classy rider, and he obviously knew exactly what he was doing, and pulled out the win on a very tough stage. That climb to the finish at Caerphilly was very, very difficult, and he's not a small guy, so he's putting out some watts to carry that over.
Sure. And today we saw Mark Cavendish come over in the third group. He looked like he was spitting. I mean, that was effectively the end of his GC pretensions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he probably knew it was coming. We saw yesterday, I think in all fairness to Mark, he was probably swinging a little bit in that group with his climbs and just trying to ride as smoothly as possible. And obviously he didn't have it in the legs, because like I said earlier, if he was going to do it, he would have done it front of the group. But yeah, so he's just coming a few minutes down. I think now, like you said earlier, it's distilled it down to Boom and Thomas.
Simple as that. And tomorrow, the bad news for Mark Cavendish is the hills continue right over Dartmoor from Exeter to Exmouth. See you then.